This episode of World Wellness Education is made possible by a production grant from the Milhorn Law Firm.
We at the Milhorn Law Firm believe that important decisions in planning should not be put on hold. These planning decisions affect not only you, but your children and heirs. My name is Eric Milhorn. I'm one of 7 attorneys here at the Milhorn Law Firm. We've been very fortunate. We've been able to serve the Central Florida area for a period of over 20 years. All the attorneys at the Milhorn Law Firm live in this area and are proud to call this area our home.
The Milhorn Law Firm, the law firm you know and trust.
Hi, I'm Tracy Brosman, co-founder of World Wellness Education, a community forum to educate, encourage, and inspire a better way of life. We commonly face day-to-day challenges of stress, lack of exercise, and poor eating habits. But with the right approach, we can find freedom, wake up each morning feeling healthy, focused, and ready to take on the day. Together, we can make a difference, one story at a time. Degenerative arthritis, also known as osteoarthritis, is joint inflammation that results from the destruction of the cartilage between the joints. It is estimated that nearly half of our population will suffer from osteoarthritis at some point in our lives. Although it is typically known as an aging disease, it can also occur due to traumatic injury to the body. Our guest today is Valerie Castleman. Valerie was nearly crippled by degenerative arthritis, yet she turned her life around. Today, she lives pain-free. Welcome, Valerie. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, tell us a little bit about how you developed degenerative arthritis. Obviously, for you, it was not an aging disease.
No. In the late 80s, I had a head-on car crash in an intersection without a seatbelt. I was in a hurry, trying to beat the light, and I thought the other guy was stopping, so I was going to go through on a yellow. Well, he thought the same thing, and we both accelerated into the intersection and had a significant impact. My head went into the windshield, and I had a great deal of swelling in my face. Matter of fact, you couldn't see the difference between my forehead and my nose.
Oh, no.
Went in for x-rays and all those kinds of things, was sent home, told I had a mild concussion and a whiplash injury. And that was it.
Wow.
Never followed up medically for it after that. Fast forward now 20 some years post-injury, I have what's called severe degenerative arthritis in my neck. My C4 and 5 have almost no space between the disc space, the typical disc space, and my chiropractor says I have a 75-year-old C-spine. As a result, I have bone spurs that have developed, and they hook on a nerve and cause spasms between my shoulder blades. So I have chronic discomfort that has been around for a lot of years, and my background in nursing is a very physical job, lifting people, sometimes when you shouldn't do it alone,
Right.
has aggravated over the years. I'm a very active person, and so there's, lifestyle can aggravate. But the point is I have dealt with this for a great number of years, and it's slowly progressing, and I have flare-ups on occasion that are quite debilitating for periods of time. But it's just something I learned to manage and take very good care of.
Let's back up a little bit. You had the car accident, and they basically said just some whiplash and a mild concussion. And you never went back to the doctor at that point?
No, I actually went to my local chiropractor because I was raised in the belief that alternative practitioners were just always in my family. That's what we did. And because it was a musculoskeletal condition, that's where I went.
Right.
And I now know, you read about the things that affect you. I now know that arthritis is a degenerative progressive disorder typically from a significant injury. So it's just a normal progression, unfortunately.
Right. Now you said you did nursing, so let's go back into your background a little bit. Tell me a little bit about the nursing and about what you had to do on a day-to-day basis that might have caused this to get a little bit worse.
I went directly from high school into a nursing program, licensed practical nursing program, a year degree in that you are basically the primary caregivers. So we did baths, repositioning. I mean, the scope is, significant, but limited by license, so you're not allowed to make the major medication decisions and things like that. Anyway, long story is physical labor, I loved it, absolutely loved it. But many cases, nursing home care, primary care, where you're repositioning people, there's some significantly, you do what you need to do. And when you're young and immortal, you do things that you probably shouldn't do. You should ask for more help.
Right.
It is
because you just want to get it done and you want to take care
and
of
you
your
have
patient
things
the
to
best.
do. And,
yeah.
Exactly.
The best that you can.
I've had clients stumble and fall. You catch them to keep them from falling. So there's a lot of things that can happen in nursing, and it's a very rigorous job, a wonderful job, but rigorous.
So what type of symptoms were you seeing later on?
As it began to progress, I would get, as I mentioned, tightness between my shoulder blades, spasms. I would go to the chiropractor and get adjusted, and the next day it felt like I was back out again. What happened is the muscles got so tight, particularly on the side where the nerve was being compressed and causing spasms, that eventually it pulled my spine into a small scoliosis in the upper between the shoulder blades area. So I have a small scoliosis as a result. So it always felt out, if you know what I mean. Massage is wonderful. I would do massage on occasion, but mostly chiropractic care.
Were you going to the chiropractor every week or multiple times a week?
I would say at least 3 times a month, if not more.
Okay.
It was that.
So on a regular basis
very
you
regular,
were going?
Yeah. I had to maintain physical comfort.
And for years did that help and help you maintain?
I'm a big believer that it helped me stay in the health, my spinal health that I am today. I don't know what I'd have done without it, honestly. I believe that there's a thing called trigger point syndrome. As your muscles tighten up and create spasms, it creates a syndrome of pain that radiates away from the center, and the muscles just, it gets worse over time. The chiropractic and the massage helped me from getting really bad in that regard, but again, with this pinched nerve causing the muscle spasms, there's only so much you can do in that regard. So it's all maintenance.
Right. Now I know that it started getting worse.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about
Well,
that.
actually, I have often had flare-ups where you'll turn your head just wrong, or you'll wake up on your stomach, or something will cause what I call a zing in the nerve, because when you pinch it, you know immediately. You can barely turn your head to the left. Mine's left side mostly. I was traveling home to see my mom. I used to live in South Dakota, and I lived on the west side of the state. She lived on the east side of the state, and it's about a 450-mile travel. So I jumped in the car one day after work and went home to see Mom. Got about 3/4 of the way there and was quite tired, so I pulled off to a rest stop, and I put my head against the window and I slept for a couple hours. When I woke up, I had a kink in my neck, which was not unusual.
Right, you just
one of
slept
those
in the
things.
car.
Exactly. Went on about my business, but unfortunately, over the next 5 weeks, this kink turned into a worsening condition, and it progressed to the point that I eventually lost the use of my right arm. I was actually carrying my right arm with my left arm. I had significant pain, so much so that in the last week or two I was actually missing work. I was laying on my couch because there was no other place that was comfortable. I was icing it, doing everything I could possibly do. I went to chiropractic care. I tried traction. I tried TENS, ultrasound. I even had a collar that would stretch my neck up and try to create space between the discs, and we pumped a bunch of air into it to stretch it to try to get relief on that area, and nothing was working.
Oh no.
I was at the point where I was going to the chiropractor every day, and at the day my chiropractor fired me, I went in.
That's not a good day.
I went in and I went to lay on the table so that he could adjust me, and went to lay face down, and I fell on my face because my right arm could no longer support my body weight. And he sat me up and he said, "Valerie, you need to have a surgical consult. I can't help you anymore, and you're possibly doing damage that is, potentially irreversible." And I knew he was right. I mean, at that point, I'd been a nurse for many years, and I knew that I needed, but I was uninsured at that point in my life, and I was desperately trying to find anything that would help me through this crisis. So I went home and I cried, and I went back to laying on my couch. It was a Friday afternoon, and on a Sunday evening, I pulled out a business card of a gentleman I'd met in an airport 7 months earlier. And we met because the planes had been grounded due to a large snowstorm, and we were both standing in the car rental line and realized we were heading in the same direction. We lived about 30 miles from each other. So we carpooled from Denver, Colorado to Rapid City, South Dakota. It's about 6 hours. And we talked about a technology called LowLevel laser therapy that I'd never heard of. And Dr. Lytle was the gentleman I chatted with, and at the end of the large explanation of what these units did for somebody, I said to him, how can they be that good? I've been in medicine since 1985 and I've never heard of them. And he said it's because they're alternative, considered alternative in the States, very commonly used in Eastern countries and in all over Europe, but not yet in the US. And so I remembered that conversation, and I was still hoping I could find something. And I went and picked the card up at 9 o'clock on a Sunday night and picked up the phone, and somebody actually answered it. So I was there first thing Monday morning, and he said two things. Give me the week. I want you to come in Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And he said, don't expect miracles the first therapy. And but he said, you know, we can see what we can get done. I asked him not to do anything but the laser therapy because with my clinical background, and a bit skeptical. I wanted to know if something got better, what made it better.
Right.
And so Monday I had the therapy, and it was just a short therapy where he worked on actually my neck and a little bit in my middle of my back with this low-level laser, and I felt no improvement. And I went home, and I was disappointed, I'll be very honest with you. I was hoping for something. Went back to the couch, and I laid there, and Wednesday morning went back to my scheduled appointment. And in that therapy, my pain dropped from, I would say, a real 9. When I was, as a nurse, when you rate pain, there's a, you know, very, 8 to 10 is difficult speaking, and I can honestly say I was in that much pain. I was actually nauseous when I stood upright. And when he did the therapy, my pain went from a 9 to about a 5 in a 15-minute window.
Wow.
And I
That's
stood up.
pretty significant.
It was amazing. And I stood up and I said, oh my gosh, I could actually turn my head, which was pretty much frozen. I was moving my shoulders. And I thought, wow, maybe. He said, go home and do some light activity. You've been laying in bed for a week or better. Start doing some light activity. Don't get crazy. And so I went and I puttered around in my yard in the perennials. And then I could feel it starting to tighten up, so I went back and laid down. Got up the next morning, felt better. I wasn't scheduled to go back to the next day, went about my life.
So you even felt better than you did the day before.
And by the Friday morning, my pain was probably down to a 2 on a scale of 10. I went in for the final therapy, and the pain disappeared, and I had a whole series of muscles that had knotted up in my arm and between my right shoulder blade. And he lasered it with a little bit stronger laser. There's different models, and he used the stronger laser, and I walked out of there just like I am today. Full strength in my right arm, no pain, and amazed.
You walked in with having to lift your arm.
Carrying this arm.
And having one chiropractor tell you that surgery really is your best option at this point, or you're going to cause irreversible damage.
Yes.
And you've been living with the pain, you've been working with chiropractor
4 or 5
and
weeks.
massage and off and on for years, but it just got really, really bad within that time frame. And 3 sessions, and you had full use of your arm again?
Full range of motion. I was just like I was prior to the flare-up. Chronic degenerative arthritis will never go away.
Right.
By nature and by definition, it will be there for the rest of my life. And I still have compressed discs, etc. I still have a compressed nerve, but not flared up out of control. So I manage with chiropractic, massage, and laser, which is a regular part of my life now. And that's been November of 2007 when it happened. So it's been almost, do the math, 5 years, a little better. And it's kept me, I believe, from having to have surgery. I really truly believed I was destined for surgery. Will I need it someday down the road? I hope not.
Yeah, that would be nice.
It would be nice, but I use these tools that are available to me on a very regular basis.
So how did the laser work? I know that you did some research on it and all that. Why do you think that made a difference?
Now, at the time, I didn't have a clue.
Right.
Now I know that lasers of low power, very therapeutic levels, reduce inflammation, which is probably the biggest effect it had. They also increase energy within the cell, allowing the cell to have the fuel in the gas tank to do its job. I believe detoxification was a big piece of that as well. It improves circulation. Obviously, when there's no circulation, things don't work like they're supposed to. And those 3 main actions, it also stimulates endorphins, so it gave me some temporary pain relief, but activated healing processes that allowed me to recover from what I was dealing with.
So you said detox. One of the things it did was help your body detox. Did you see any detox? When we talk about detox, people think of the different symptoms that we get from detox.
When you're talking musculoskeletal, when a muscle's in spasm, it creates lactic acid. Lactic acid is why you feel sore after a new workout.
All right.
So by getting that lactic acid, and another thing that lasers do is encourage lymphatic drainage. And so whenever you work an area that has a challenge, you do the local lymphatic tissue first. Allows for those toxins to be pulled, as they're pulled out of the cells, to be eliminated naturally through the body's processes. So I think all of those mechanisms together created a healing process that was very rapid for me. It was about inflammation. If that nerve was compressed initially and then inflamed and probably swollen, it didn't fit where it belonged in the first place. It certainly didn't fit when it was swollen. So getting the inflammation, the swelling down, releasing the trigger point spasms that occurred in the muscles, all of them together gave me relief.
Now, did it hurt?
No, I didn't feel it.
Really?
You don't feel a thing. It's
didn't
like
feel
a flashlight
heat or anything.
No.
That was really that was why you were really skeptical too after that first day, right?
Yes.
It's like, oh, yeah.
And the chiropractor said the most effective light is the infrared, which you don't actually see. So if you don't see it and you don't feel it, how could it possibly be working? Yeah, but it obviously did for me. And it was the only therapy we used. So I know that, and I did everything else up until that,
right.
So I have no doubt that was what it was.
So how often do you use it now to maintain?
Well, probably I would say once to twice a week. I should use it more for the health benefits that are available, because when you understand the cellular response, there's nothing I wouldn't try it on, to be very honest with you. But I think that the research now that I find the most exciting is that it supports immune system response, and our immune system defends us against this world that we live in. And so that's the most profound probably, and I use it for that weekly. I use it for aches and pains as needed, sometimes once a week, sometimes more often. About 4 or 5 days ago, I woke up with another pinch in my neck, and it really, I was kind of concerned that I was heading down that path again. And between a good massage therapist and daily therapy, I'm now out of that pain scale again. So I have a little bit of aches. Yes. Now, where would that lead me if I didn't have access to it?
Now, were you fairly healthy beforehand? Did you change your nutrition at all, or before the accident or after?
No. When I had the accident, I was in my early 20s and immortal, like we all are at that age. I grew up in a very healthy lifestyle, though I didn't realize it had a name at the time. I grew up on a farm, and we provided everything that we consumed came from the farm, from the whole milk, which, by the way, we stirred the cream in and drank it. It was never pasteurized, to the fresh fruits and produce from the vegetable garden. We butchered our own beef. Everything, we had sheep, pigs, you name it. Everything we had was provided by our farm. So I grew up in a very healthy environment.
Wow.
Plus,
you didn't have that processed food and the sugary junk food.
Oh, it was a treat if we ever got to go to McDonald's. It was like a once in every couple month thing, because it just wasn't in the finances.
Right.
Because it wasn't just us 4 girls. That I have 3 sisters, but we also had 3 either cousins or foster kids or something with us at all times. So it was a big family. So we provided for on the farm. And so I grew up very healthy, and we were very active. It was a ranch, and there were no boys, so we worked the farm. So we were very active. But when I moved away and went to college and fell into the college routine of processed food.
Right, fast food.
I did go down that path for a little while. But I was fortunate enough to have good friends and good experiences that brought me to nutrition and wellness principles, always curious anyway, and came across some really great, my point is ran into the right people that got me on the right path, and I'm a big proponent of prevention, weight management, exercise, and nutritional intervention, because I don't think we can get it from food anymore. I really don't believe we can, unless you really do have the access to an organic farm.
Like you did.
Like we did.
Everything, fruits, vegetables, and eating mainly fruits and vegetables. So unfortunately, we don't eat enough of that.
Exactly.
So, and as far as exercise, because I exercise, especially with musculoskeletal, that does play a huge part.
Without a doubt.
So what type of exercises did you do, and did that change after the accident?
I was an avid runner during that period in my life. I ran, oh my goodness, 5 miles a day, sometimes 10 on the weekends. Took usually 1 day a week off. and always stretched. So the stretching for my neck has been the biggest preventative piece. If you don't move it, you're going to lose it.
Right.
And so I was an avid runner. Since then, I switched to biking, and because it's just better on the joints. But I'm a big believer in prevention. As a nurse of many years now, I hate to do the math anymore, I've seen many clients, and I always said there was a division in health, and it was not dependent upon the age of the client. And there was always, whenever you saw clients come in and they would head down the paradigm of sickness,
right,
they tended to be people that didn't take care of themselves. They'd say, I was healthy as a horse until, and then that magic number popped up. But it wasn't that they were healthy. They didn't live a lifestyle of health. They lived a lifestyle that really wore their body out prematurely. And then you'd see the ones that came in that were vibrant and healthy and rarely took a pharmaceutical medication because they did take care of their bodies. It made a large impact on me seeing that through the years of nursing. And so I became more and more active in helping people that were on medications come back off if there was a natural way to do so, with the sign off on their doctors, never without.
Of course.
Yes. Because there's definitely a place. There's a place for both. But as a nation, I believe we're very sick because we don't take ownership of our own health. We expect to go to the doctor to fix us and get a piece of paper instead of taking ownership and doing the things, little things, all day long.
Well, and to the doctors, they tell us, you need to exercise more. You need to eat better. You need to lose weight. But instead, we take the prescription and say, oh, all I have to do is a prescription.
But it's covered
and I don't
by
need
insurance.
To change it. Yes.
Yeah, it might be, but I tell you what, pay for it now or pay for it later, I guarantee.
So when you had the accident, did you have to stop exercising?
During that 5-week period, as I mentioned, I was nearly bedridden at the end. So I couldn't do anything. After, I went right back because it's a belief structure and it's what I believe in. So I continue to exercise.
And do you feel like that is very important
without a doubt
maintaining your
I actually
health
just had a
as far as
conversation this weekend with some significant people in my life. I need to keep my muscles of my back and neck strong, or I will move out of the ability to maintain it. I do believe that.
Right.
So weightlifting is a piece now of my routine. It's just maintaining.
Well, that's great. Well, Valerie, thank you so much for sharing all of
pleasure.
this. And if somebody would like to find out more about this, because I know that you've actually gone into being a practitioner for the lasers yourself, how would they get a hold of you?
My personal cell phone, 352-459-9917. I work for a company that does market therapeutic lasers.
Okay.
So if there's a need, musculoskeletal conditions, it's just wonderful. So.
Thanks, Valerie, so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you sharing your healing journey with us.
It's been my pleasure, and thank you again for inviting me.
You're very welcome. Together, we make a difference, one story at a time. If you would like to find out more information about World Wellness Education, you can visit our website at worldwellnesseducation.org. Salt therapy or halotherapy is a therapeutic use of salt mines, caves, or other forms of exposure to salt air to treat medical conditions. The ancient Greeks often used salt therapy, and Hippocrates, the father of medicine, prescribed saltwater inhalation therapy for bronchial and lung disorders. Modern forms of salt therapy include sitting in a room that is circulated with salt-laden air. The walls, ceiling, and floor are also coated with salt. It is designed so that you experience something similar to what occurs naturally in Eastern European salt caves. Salt therapy results in improved symptoms of bronchial, pulmonary, allergy, asthma, and skin conditions. Salt caves were first used medicinally after a Polish physician noted in 1843 that salt miners rarely suffered from respiratory diseases. One theory is that salt's antiseptic properties help fight bacteria. In the 19th century, European doctors noticed that resilience of convicts of serving life sentences in salt mines. Contrary to expectations, they didn't die early due to the hard labor or harsh and inhumane conditions. Instead, they enjoyed relatively good health and many reached a very old age. Doctors looking for explanation found that people who for a long period of time practiced regular salt therapy are much fresher, resilient, and healthy mentally and physically than the ones who have never or only irregularly received such therapies. European monks were successful in using salt therapy to treat respiratory diseases. The monks would grind salt rocks against each other to create a salt dust that their patients inhaled. During a 10-year study in Hungary, more than 4,000 people were treated with salt therapy. The majority of patients reported remarkable improvement and long-lasting benefits. In 1995, the Russian Ministry of Health recognized the Halo complex chamber as a medical device, and dry saline generators have been certified as medical devices throughout Europe and have made considerable progress in North America. There also has been significant research indicating the benefits for pulmonary and skin conditions with salt therapy. Research has found that patients with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease had significant positive results, including the improvement in lung function and blood pressure. Salt therapy can rid microbial contamination of the upper respiratory tract and inhibit respiratory allergies. Salt therapy has proven to be very effective in the treatment of patients with chronic bronchitis. Great results have been seen in children with bronchial asthma. The therapy noticeably diminishes broncho-obstructive syndrome and improved pulmonary ventilation. Another study focused on skin conditions such as atopic dermatitis found that children who underwent therapy showed positive results. And it seems that the United States is catching on because salt rooms and salt caves are popping up across the country. Many salt rooms have playrooms, relaxation rooms for adults, and you can find rooms made of salt dedicated to experiencing yoga or massage therapy. There are even ways to create your own salt room in your home, either by purchasing a salt pod or by turning a walk-in closet into a salt room. Not only is it therapeutic, but an hour in a salt room listening to relaxing music is incredibly enjoyable. This information is not meant to be medical advice. No action or inaction should be taken solely on the contents of this information. Instead, you should consult appropriate health professionals on any matter relating to your health and well-being. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can catch this show each week on Lakefront TV. To find out more about World Wellness Education, check out our website at worldwellnesseducation.org. We'll see you next time.
This episode of World Wellness Education is made possible by a production grant from the Milhorn Law Firm. Have you or a loved one ever suffered an injury due to the negligence of another? Then it's time to turn to a law firm that you know and trust, one with a record of client satisfaction and integrity. Hello, my name is Ryan Milhorn, and the Milhorn Law Firm has been representing personal injury clients in the Central Florida area for over 20 years. Our attorneys live in this community and are very proud to call it home. The Milhorn Law Firm, the law firm you know and trust.